Everyone, can you see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Right. So I think we started learning overriding, right? So I think yesterday we saw few of the topics, and today we will see remaining things on overriding, guys. So I think we are discussing on rules for overriding, right? Okay. So yesterday I think we saw a few of the rules. So what are the rules we have to follow, guys, while overriding? Okay, the first one, method name should be same, right? Method name should be same. And these two methods, we can declare it what? Two different classes. And those two different classes should have what? Some relation. Okay, by using extends keyword, right? We can achieve a relation by using what? Extends keyword, right? And after that, what we have, and the argument types. Argument types also what? Should match, right? Same argument types we have to keep, right? For the overridden methods. So apart from these, what are the other rules, guys? Yesterday we have discussed the return type, right? So the return type, okay. So until 1.4 version, the return types also should be same, should be matched, okay. So from 1.5 version onwards, covariant return types also we can take, okay. Covariant return types also we can take, right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
In the parent class override method, if you are taking any type, in child class override method, you can take the same type or its child. Okay. So that is what covariant return type. Right. Let me write those points, then we can continue for things. Guys, you have to respond. That's what I'm keep on asking you. Okay. I'm not asking anything new concept, right? I'm asking the concept sir. Already we discussed it. Just yesterday only we discussed. Why you guys are keep calm? Okay. So rules for overriding. So already we discussed a few rules, right? So apart from that, okay. So we are adding some other rules here. So now coming to return types. Okay, return types rule. So in the return types should be match. Should be match. Right? Return types must be same or should be match. Must be same. But this rule is applicable until JDK 1.4. Okay. From 1.5 onwards, okay, from 1 version onwards, covariant return types also are allowed, right? Covariant return types also allowed, right? So what is covariant return types, guys? Okay, so what is covariant return types means? Child class method return type need not be same as parent class method return type. Okay, its child types also allowed.
Yes.
Understand?
Yeah.
Child class method return type need not be same as parent class method return type. Its child types also allowed. Okay. Yeah. So according to covariant return type, okay, child class method return type need not to same as parent class method return type. Okay, it can be child type also. Right? Child class method return type need not be same as parent class method return type. Its child types also allowed, right?
Yeah, yes.
Child type also allowed. Right. So this is the one yesterday we discussed. I think already we have written one example. Okay. So now, apart from that, what is other rule we discussed, guys, yesterday? These are very, 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 very important, guys. The polymorphism concept is very, very, very important. Okay. If you work with any Java technology, okay, the polymorphism concept is very, very important. So without using this polymorphism, okay, you will not write single Java application also, guys. Every day you have to use this polymorphism concept if you are working with any kind of Java projects means. So that much important. Okay. So that's what. Please listen carefully. If you have any questions, please ask me immediately. Okay. So I will discuss each and every corner, guys, in overriding. Okay. Don't worry. Okay. A lot of things we have. We will discuss each and every concept. Okay. So now. So what is the other thing, guys? Yesterday we discussed. This covariant return types is not applicable for primitive types, right? And it is applicable only for what?
Access modifier.
Okay. So this covariant, this topic also we discussed, right? This point also yesterday. Covariant return types is applicable only for object types, but not for primitive types. Primitive types, right?
Yeah.
Clear? So this
Yeah,
point
clear.
also yesterday we discussed, right? So now, what is the other rule we discussed yesterday? Access mode. Okay. So parent class private methods are not available to the child, right? And so overriding concept is not applicable for private methods.
Yes.
Right? So that's what yesterday also we discussed the same point, right? So let me write this one also. What parent class private methods. Okay, parent class private methods are not available to, right? Not available to child. Hence, overriding concept is not applicable for private methods, right? Overriding concept is not applicable for private methods. Yesterday we discussed on this and we saw few of the examples also. Okay. No, fine. So now okay. So what else, guys, we discussed yesterday? Access modifiers, right? So now what is the other rule? Access modifiers.
Access.
Tell me what is the access modifier rule?
A parent class and child class access modifiers must be same, otherwise
So while overriding, okay, we cannot reduce, okay, we cannot reduce the scope of access modifiers, guys. Access modifier, okay, while overriding, we cannot reduce the scope of access modifier, but we can increase the scope in child class. In child class override method. Clear?
Okay.
Okay, so this this is the one we discussed right yesterday.
Yes.
So while overriding, we cannot reduce the scope of access modifier, but we can increase the scope in child class override method. Okay, so here, let me write one more time. So not suppose in parent, this is what parent guys. Okay, in parent class, we have, let's assume we have what public. Okay, in parent class, we have what public access modifier. Understand?
Yes.
Parent class override method. So in parent class, that method what we use to call overridden method. In the child class, we use it to call override method. Okay. So now in the parent class method we have right overridden method. So that method, what is the access modifier? Public. Okay. Now in child class, what we have to take as access modifier? We can take
Public.
either public. Understand?
Increase.
We have to take only public,
Yes.
right? So we can take same type as parent access modifier, or else, it's what do you call?
Strong access.
Strong access modifier. Okay, it should not be weak access modifier. So yesterday we have given right. So how the access modifiers will be? I mean, priority will be first is
Private,
private.
default,
Next,
Default.
default,
Protect.
next,
protected, public.
protected.
Public.
Next one is public. Right. So, so now comparatively public protected is weak access modifier. Comparatively protected default is weak access modifier. Comparatively default private is weak access modifier. So here public is what? Strong access modifier. Private is what? Weak access modifier. Okay. So while overriding, okay, always we have to keep what? Strong access modifier in child class, comparatively parent, or else we can take same access modifier, right? So now here, so this one is valid or invalid?
Valid.
Valid.
Right? So now here I'm taking default access modifier. Okay. Now here I'm taking default access modifier. Is it valid or invalid?
Valid.
Valid.
Because same level.
Same.
Right? Both are same level, right? We can take.
Yes.
Now let me take here, I'm taking public. Okay. Here I'm taking protected. Is it valid or invalid?
Invalid.
Why invalid?
Child class
Strong.
weaker than the parent.
Yeah. Okay. This is invalid. Okay.
We can't reduce the
So let me write invalid. Here we are reducing the scope of access modifier comparatively parent, right? In parent, what we have? Public. But here we have what? Protected. So we are reducing the scope of access modifier. We should not reduce. Okay. If you want, we can increase, but we should not reduce, or else you can take same access modifier. Fine. So this one also valid. Why valid, guys? Same level. So this one also valid. Why valid? Because same level. Clear?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So now here I'm taking, okay, here I'm taking protected. Okay, here I'm taking just default. Is it valid or invalid?
Invalid.
Invalid.
Invalid. Okay, why you guys are taking so much to tell the answer? Invalid, right? Why invalid? Here what? We are decreasing the scope of access modifier, right?
Yes.
Okay, understood? So now Now, okay. So now here. So why we need to increase the scope in child class, guys? Understand? Here, why we need to increase this? Okay, we understood. This is the rule. So why we need to follow this rule? Why Java people given this rule? Understand? Why we need to increase the scope of access modifier in child class? Understand what is my question?
Yeah.
Okay. So no. So we will see. No. Okay, I'm created parent class, right? Parent we have. In the parent class, what we have, guys? Some method. Public void show method. Okay. So this is what system.out.println parent method. No, sorry. Okay. Parent class closed. Now I created what? Child class. In the child class, I created what? One method. Public void. I mean override method. I'm overriding this method. So okay. So now system.out.println of what, guys, here? Child method. Class I closed. So now what we need to do? Overriding means we need to put some relation between these two classes. Parent. Fine. Now these two classes are what? In relation. And here what? Show method is what? Overridden method. Here show method is what? Overriding method. We are overriding this show method into child class, right? So because I don't want to, I'm not at all satisfied with the implementation which is available in super class, right? So that's why, right, we are going to override that method and we are going to provide our own implementation. Yesterday we discussed, right? So now,
Yes.
so here, see, now, 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 so by using, okay, by using parent class reference variable, you can find child class object or not. Parent p is equal to new child, right? Like this,
Yes.
we can find, right? Okay. So now, see here. Okay. Now, let's suppose. Okay. So by using like this, okay, they are calling what? By using class reference, by they're calling what? Show method. Okay. They're calling what? Show method. Okay. So now, where they're calling, let's suppose 100 outside people they are calling. Outside people means what? Outside classes. They are in two different packages. Already we completed package topic, right? Packages topic.
Yes.
Okay. Now this parent and child, this class in one package. Some other classes we have. Those classes were there in what? Other different packages. Okay. In that classes, they are creating object of our child class like this. Parent p is equal to new child, and they are calling what? Show method. Clear? They are calling what? Show method. Now, clear everyone?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. So now let me. Okay. So now let me remove this, guys. Okay. Let me remove it. Here I am trying to explain what, guys? What is the use of increasing? Why we need to increase, right?
Yes.
Access modifier scope. Fine. So now see here, parent p is equal to new child p dot show. So now, tell me which method will execute, guys? Which method will execute? See, we have child class extends parent, but I don't want to override show method. Understand?
Yes.
I don't want to override show method. Okay, I want to use show method in child class also. When we will override, if you are not satisfied with parent class method implementation, then only you are going to override that method in your child to provide your own implementation, right? So now here I'm satisfied with the parent class method implementation. That's what I don't want to override this. Okay. Now p.show method I'm calling. Now tell me p.show method. What will happen when you call p.show method? P, right? P is what type? First of all, it will verify what is the reference variable of show method. What is the, by using which reference variable we are calling show method? Which reference variable? P. So P means type parent type. In parent type, first of all, compiler it will go and verify, do we have this show method? Okay. Do we have show method in parent class? Yes, we have.
Yes, sir.
Right. So now immediately it won't call that show method. So it will verify what is the dynamic, okay, dynamic object type here. What is the dynamic object type here? Child. In the child, do we have show method?
No.
We don't have show method. So that time which method will execute? Parent class show method will execute. Okay. In child class also, if you have show method, then child class show method will execute. That's what yesterday we discussed, right? Come on, guys.
Yes.
So in the same way,
Yes.
here in child class, we are not overriding that show method. Then which class show method will execute? Parent class show method will execute. So that's what here. What is the output?
Parent method.
Parent method.
Parent method is the output here, right? Parent method. Fine. So now, so like this, how many? Okay, how many places we are calling, guys? This method, show method, 100 times. 100 places we are calling. Means in 100 classes, in 100 different classes, they are calling what? Show method. Clear, everyone?
Yeah.
So why they can call? Because this is what? Public access modifier. What is the show method here? Access
Public
modifier. Public, right? So public means what? Anyone can call, right? Remember, guys, already we discussed, right? Access modifiers.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now public means what? Anyone can call. So that's what these 100 classes, they're able to create object of our parent class. Okay, by using child class, by using they are able to create child class object by using parent class reference variable, and they're able to call show method. Okay, and they can call because show method is what? Public access modifier, and they're happily executing and they are getting output. Okay, they are able to call our show method. Fine. Okay, until now everything is fine. So now all of a sudden what happened? Okay, now I'm not at all satisfied with the parent class implementation what we have. Okay, in my child class I want to override. Okay, I want to override what, guys? That parent class method implementation. Understand?
Yes.
So now show method. Here system.out.println, I'm not at all satisfied with the parent class implementation. So that's what I want to implement my own implementation here. So like that, I provided implementation. Clear?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. Now, so now, where 100 classes, in different 100 classes they are calling, right? Show method. So now, what is the output they are going to get, guys?
Child method.
What is the output now they are going to get?
Child method.
Parent method or child method?
Child method.
Child method. Okay, child method output they will get, right? Already in child class already we implemented show method, right? If you implemented show method means which method will execute now?
Child
Child
method.
method.
Child class method will execute, right? Overriding. Always the method resolution will be taken care by whom? JVM, based on runtime object. You have to remember, guys, overloading and overriding. Don't worry, we will discuss what are the differences, okay, between overloading and overriding. But you have to remember, already we discussed it, right?
Yes.
Here see, p.show method. So what is the reference type here? P. So now P. What is the reference type here? Parent. Right? In parent class, first of all, it will verify whether show method is there or not there. So show method is available in parent class? Yes, we have. So now, if available also, JVM will not execute this show method. What it will verify? What is the dynamic object? Okay. What is the runtime object type for this parent P? What is the runtime object here? Child type. Now in child type, okay, the JVM will go and verify, do we have any show method or not? Okay. Do we have show method in child class? Yes, we have show method. So now this time, which method will execute? Show method will execute. Okay. Under child class. Okay. Because overriding is always the method resolution will be taken care by whom? JVM based on runtime object. Understand? Not based on reference type. So that's what child class show method will execute. Clear everyone?
That clear.
Yeah. So now here, if you see here, intentionally, I'm not putting public access modifier. What is the access modifier I'm putting now? Default.
Yes.
Understand? So if I put default access modifier, see, I'm decreasing the scope of access modifier here. Understand?
Yes, sir.
I'm decreasing the scope of access modifier here. Now, what is the, here I'm decreasing the scope of access modifier, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So now, here see, now the 100 classes, okay? In different 100 classes, they are creating object of our class and they are trying to execute our show method, right? Now they can call the show method.
Yeah, we can.
Now they can call the show method or not?
Yes.
They
Yes, sir.
cannot call. Why they cannot call? Here show method is what?
Decreasing.
Default access
Default
modifier.
access.
Default access modifier, who will call? Only the classes which are there in the same package, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Ah,
sir.
those people only, they can call the show method. So different packages people, they cannot call. Remember, already we discussed access modifier scopes and all. What is private, default, public, okay, protected. Okay. So now these 100 people, where they are in different classes. They are in different packages. The 100 classes, right? Now they are not able to call this show method. They will get what? Compile time errors. They will get what? Errors. Understand or not?
Yes.
So if you decrease the scope of access modifier, definitely your application will affect, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we have to remember, while overriding, okay, you should not create any problems, guys. Understand? You should not create any problem. Hope you people clear what is the problem here.
That clear.
If you decrease the access modifier scope, what will happen? The already existing 100 classes, they are calling our method, right? So now they are going to affect. Why? You are decreasing the scope. If you are decreasing the scope means what? So they are not able to call now. Clear everyone? So that's what, here what? You should not decrease. If you want, you can keep same access modifier, or else you can increase the scope, but you should not decrease. Hope you people understood why we should not decrease the access modifier scope in child class.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So now what we have to do here? Here we have to keep public only. Public only. Understand? Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's suppose here I'm removing this public, guys. I'm removing this public. Where? In parent class. Okay. In parent class, I'm removing this public. Now, what is the access modifier now? If I remove default access modifier. So now in default access modifier, let's suppose we have this parent class, and parent class we define this method and implementation. Now in 100 classes. So default access modifier means who will call, guys? Who will call this method? The classes which are there in the same package.
Same package.
Right? This parent class. Parent class might be there in some package, right? So remaining 100 classes. Those 100 classes also they're in same package. Now they can call this method. Right? Now they are able to call this method, fine. After some time, I'm overriding this method. Show method. Okay. While overriding, what I'm putting here? Public access modifier I'm putting.
Yeah.
Understanding? So now which method will execute now? Child class method will execute.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the 100 classes they're affecting with this implementation. So they can call this show method or not? This public class implemented show method. Sorry, in child class implemented show method.
Yeah, we can.
They can call. Why? Here access modifier is what? Public. Public means what? Anyone can call. Right? Within the same package classes also they can call. And outside the package classes also they can call.
Yes, sir.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Clear everyone? So,
Yes, sir.
So that's why, okay, always while overriding, we need to increase the scope of access modifier. We should not decrease the scope of access modifier. Understand? If you want, you can take same scope access modifier also. Otherwise, you have to increase the scope of access modifier, but you should not decrease the scope of access modifier. So this is the reason why we need to increase the scope of access modifier while overriding. Clear, everyone?
Yeah, clear.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes,
So now, yeah, now, okay, now we will go for other thing. So I think yesterday we saw few of the examples on this, right? Access modifier, right? I saw you, I think, yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Practically. Fine. So now, okay. One more topic we need to discuss here. Okay. Let me discuss. Okay. So for that, I need to cover the basic concept of, okay, basic classes of exception handling here. Okay. So just listen. I know we don't know anything about exception handling, but this basic knowledge is required to complete the other rule, okay, which is there in overriding. Okay, I will try to explain. Please listen, guys, here. So now in the exception hierarchy, okay, so now in the exception hierarchy, okay, what is the root class, guys? Throwable, right? The people who knows Java, you can tell, right? What is the root class, guys? For exception
Throwable.
hierarchy, all the classes, throwable is the root class, guys. Now, for the throwable class, we have what? Okay, two child classes, right? We have two child classes, guys. What is the first one? Exception. Exception is the what? Child class.
Child class.
Direct child classes of throwable class. And error. Okay. So error also what? Child class for throwable. Okay. Again, exception, we have
Okay.
Okay. For exception, we have runtime exception is the class. Runtime exception. Okay. Runtime exception is what? Child class for
Child
exception.
class.
Okay. For runtime exception, we have what? Don't worry, guys. We will discuss while discussing exception handling each and every class here. So now here what? Null pointer exception. Null point. NE I'm putting simply. NE means what? Null pointer exception. Okay. So here one more class called arithmetic exception. Okay. Arithmetic exception. The same way we have what?
Array index.
Class cast exception. Okay. So like this we have what? Array index out of bounds exception. Okay. So like this we have what, guys? Okay. Different etc. I'm putting etc means etc. Okay. We have different classes, right? So now we have what? IO exception. IO exception is what, guys? IO exception. IO exception class, which is direct child class for exception class. Okay. For this IO exception, we have what? The first class is file not found exception. Okay. File not found. Not right. File not found. file not found exception. This is one class. Okay. Now this is what subclass for IO exception, guys. Okay. Now, and one more subclass we have. What is the one more subclass, you know? End of the file exception. Okay. End of the file exception. Okay. Now, so like that, we have some other classes also. So now, for this class, we have what? One more subclass. Interrupted exception. PTD, interrupted exception. Okay, this is what direct child class for exception class, guys. Okay, so in the same way, we have what, guys? Servlet exception. Servlet exception class. This is also what? Direct child class for exception class. Okay, now coming to error. Okay, coming to error, we have what? Few classes. What is the first class?
Assertion.
Out of memory error we have, right? Out of memory error. This is of the one class. In the same way, we have one more error class, like stack overflow error we have, right?
Yes.
Stack overflow error. Okay, fine, guys. So like this, we have so many classes, but these classes are enough. Okay, as of now. So now, here see, so these are the what, guys? Okay, hierarchy of the exception classes. Okay, so who created these, all these classes? Who provided, guys? Java people provided. Okay, so we will learn. Okay, don't worry. While discussing exception handling, we will see each and every class. No, fine. So here in this hierarchy, if you see, what is the super class, guys? Here, throwable. Okay, and throwable, what are the child classes? Direct child classes. One is exception, another one is error. Okay, so now for this exception, we have runtime exception, IO exception, interrupt exception, servlet exception, etc. Right? So these are the classes are what? Direct child classes for exception. Okay. Now for runtime exception, what are the child classes here? Null pointer exception, okay, arithmetic exception, class cast exception, array index out of bound exception. So on etc. We have lot of other classes. Okay. So now these are the what? Child class for runtime exception. Here in exception, we have two types of exceptions, guys. Okay. So unchecked exceptions, checked exceptions. Okay. There are two types of exceptions, unchecked exceptions and checked exceptions. So don't worry, we will discuss in detail what is unchecked exception, what is checked exception while discussing exception handling topic. Okay. Here, see all the, so what are the unchecked exceptions here? See runtime exception and its child classes. These are what, guys? Okay, unchecked exceptions. These are what? Unchecked exceptions. These are belongs to unchecked exceptions. Okay, unchecked exceptions. Just remember, guys, we will discuss in detail unchecked exceptions. These are what? Unchecked exceptions. What are those? Runtime exception and its child classes. All these are what? Unchecked exception. Okay, in the same way, error and its subclasses. Error and subclasses. These are also what? Unchecked exceptions. These are also what? Unchecked exceptions. As of now, just remember which classes are checked exceptions, which are unchecked exceptions. Fine. So now, if you see the remaining, okay, remaining classes, these are all what, guys? checked exception classes. Understand? These are all what? Checked exception. Checked exception classes. Okay. So don't worry, we will see in detail what is checked exception, what is unchecked exception. Okay. So as of now, just remember. See here, runtime exception and its child classes are unchecked exception. Okay. Here error and its child classes are unchecked exception. So here what are the checked exception here? Exception, right? And here IO exception, interrupt exception, servlet exception, and out for IO exception, file not found exception, end of file exception. These are what, guys? Checked exceptions. Clear, everyone?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Fine.
Yes,
Please respond. That's what I'm asking. Now here, so you remember, right? So now, okay, let me add one more rule here. So what is the other rule we have to follow, you know? Okay. So now, okay. So now, while overriding, okay, if child class method throws any checked exception, compulsory parent class method should throw the same checked exception or its parent. Understand? One more time I will repeat. Please remember. While overriding, if child class method throws any checked exception, compulsory parent class method should throw the same checked exception or its parent. Understand? Okay. Let me write here. Let me write the rule. What is the rule now? Exception. Okay. Throwing exception. Exception throw rule or throwing exception. This is what one more rule. Okay. So what is this rule? You have to remember. Okay. While overriding, okay, while overriding, if child class method throws any checked exception, compulsory parent class method should throw the same checked exception or its parent. Okay. While overriding, if child class method throw any checked exception, throw any checked exception, okay, any checked exception, then parent class should throw, okay, parent class should throw the same checked exception, right? Or it's what? Parent, same checked exception or its parent, right?
Yeah.
Okay, or its parent. So here, so one more point we have to remember. There is no restriction. There is no restriction for, okay, there is no restriction for unchecked exceptions, guys. There is no restriction for unchecked exception. This is very, 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 very important, guys. Okay, very, very, very important, because in real-time project means what? Okay, if you write any class, if you write any method means what? We need to handle the exceptions. Okay, for every method we are going to write what? Exception handling mechanism, right? So that's what in real world means what? Always we follow this polymorphism concept only. Okay, so that's what this topic is very, very important. Okay, now see, while overriding, if child class method throw any checked exception, then parent class should throw the same checked exception or its parent, or else we will get what? Compile time error. Okay, remember one more time. Let me explain one more time the statement what I have written here. While overriding, if child class method throw any checked exception, then parent class should throw the same checked exception or its parent type. Okay, or else we will get what? Compile time error. Okay, so there is no restriction for unchecked exception. This rule is applicable for what? Only checked exception, guys. For unchecked exception, this rule is not applicable. Clear, everyone? So that's what, there is no restriction for unchecked exception. Okay, now let me write here. This rule is applicable only for checked exception. Okay, applicable only for checked exception. Okay, not applicable for unchecked exceptions. Clear? Okay. Now let me write few examples. Then you can usually identify. Okay. Now here you tell me. Okay, I'm writing here. You tell me. So no, here I'm writing one example. Now see, public void. Okay, public void. Let me write show method. This is what, guys, here parent class. Okay, parent. In parent class, which method I have? Public void show method. Fine. In child class, I have what? Public void show method. Okay, so now here throws exception. Okay, which class? Throws exception. Here I'm not writing anything. This is what? First case. Okay, case 1. Now I'm writing case 2 now. Okay, change. Okay, case 2. What is the case 2 now? Okay, so now in the case 2, so directly, simply I'm writing P, guys. Okay, instead of parent. P means parent. Okay, now in parent, I'm creating public void show method. Okay, and here child, I'm creating what? I'm overriding public void show method throws exception. Okay, now case 3. I'm writing case 3 now. So in case 3, in the parent class. Okay, in the parent class, public void show method. Okay, public void show method. Here throws what? Okay, throws exception. Fine. So now in the child class, public void show method throws what, guys? IO exception. EXCPTION. Fine. This is what? Another case. Let me write case 4. In the case 4, in the parent class. Okay. So now okay. So now here what? Public void show method. Okay. Throws IO exception. Or else file not found exception. Okay. FNF case. Okay. File not found exception here. FNF means, or else that throws file not found exception. Okay. So here in child, I'm writing what? Public void show method. Here I'm throws. Okay. Here what I'm doing, exception. Okay, so this is what next scenario. Now case 5. In the case 5, the parent class. Okay, the parent class. Okay, let me write here. So now public void show method throws. Okay, throws IO exception. Throws what? IO exception. In the child class, here I'm writing public void show method. Show method is here. Missing brackets. Okay, here what I'm doing, throws IO exception, right? Here end of the file exception. Okay, and after that, here what I'm doing, IO exception interrupted. RRU, right? Interrupted exception. Okay, so this is the what another case. Now let me write one more case here. What is the other case? Okay, case 6. Case 6, I think.
Yes,
Now
sir.
in parent class, here I'm writing public okay. Public, what is void show method, right? Void show method. Here what I'm writing, throws IO exception. Okay, IO exception I'm throwing. In child class, what I'm throwing, public void show method. So here I'm throwing throws IO exception, right? Here end of the file exception, I'm throwing, and as well as null pointer exception also I'm throwing. Null pointer exception. Fine. So next case 7. Here parent class public void show method. Okay, public void show method. So in the child class, I'm taking what public void show method. Here I'm throwing what? Okay, arithmetic exception. Simply I'm writing guys. Okay, and null pointer exception. And it means null pointer exception. Okay, and after that class cast exception. Clear? Okay. So now, understand guys? Hello.
Yeah,
Right.
understand.
So now,
Yes,
see here. This is the rule. Very, very important rule. Okay. Please concentrate here. Now, while overriding, if child class method throw any checked exception, then parent class should throw the same checked exception or its parent. Okay. This rule is applicable only for checked exceptions, not applicable for unchecked exception. Okay, you have to remember this one. In overriding, if child class throws any checked exception, in the parent class method, you should throw the same checked exception or else its parent. Okay, or else its parent. This one you have to remember. No, tell me here. I know you don't know anything about this. What is checked exception? What is unchecked exception? What is exception? What is throws? I know everything. Okay, but we need to cover this point in overriding, right? So that's what you remember this table, guys. Okay, this table you have to remember. So now, see here. What is the first case, guys? In parent class, I have taken show method, which is throwing what? Exception class. Exception. So in child class, public void show. I'm overriding this method, guys. But in the child class, I'm not throwing any exception. Is it valid or invalid?
Valid, sir.
Valid. Why valid? So the point, remember, if you, while overriding, in your child class, if you are throwing any, in child class override method, if you are throwing any checked exception, then in parent class, you should throw the what? The same checked
Same
exception or its
or parent.
But here parent class, we are not throwing any exception. Understand? Always you have to concentrate on where, first of all, in child class overriding method. In child class overriding method, we are not throwing any checked exception, right? If you are not throwing any checked exception, then parent class method, we no need to concentrate about throwing exception in parent class method. Understand or not? Guys, tell me. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So now this is valid. Okay. This is valid. Now, I mean, valid means what? We will not get any errors, compile time error or runtime error. Now see the second case 2. In case 2, if you see, public void show method, right? Parent class. In the child class, public void show throws exception, right? So exception is which class it is? Unchecked exception or checked exception? See here,
Unchecked exception.
checked exception. Exception is checked exception. Okay. Runtime class and its subclasses, error class and its subclasses are unchecked exception. Remaining all classes are what? Checked exception only.
Yes.
Clear? So now here, exception is what, guys? Checked exception.
Checked
So now
exception.
we are throwing checked exception, right? Where we are throwing? In child class override method, we are throwing. So if you throw any checked exception in child class, okay, in child class overriding method, so in the parent class, it should throw the same checked exception or else its parent. But here we are not throwing any exception, right, in parent class. So
Yes.
that's what here what we will get.
Invalid.
Compile time error we will get. So it is what? Invalid. Okay. Invalid means what? We will get some compile time error. Okay. We will see what is the compile time error we will get. Fine. So now, if you see this, now this case 3, the next case, guys. If you see the case 3, here what? Public void show method throws exception. Public void show method throws IO exception. IO exception means what? Which kind of exception it is? Again, it is a checked exception. Not unchecked, checked exception. Okay. IO exception is what? Checked exception.
Checked
So now in the child class, we are throwing what? Checked exception. But in the parent class, it should throw what? Same checked exception or else its parent. Right. Now exception is parent for IO exception, right?
Yes, sir.
Is it valid or
Yes, sir.
invalid?
Valid.
Okay. So that's what here what? Valid, guys. Fine. Now see case 4. Public void show method file not found exception I am throwing in the parent. In the child, I am throwing what? Exception. In the child, exception is what, guys? Checked exception. So if you throw any checked exception in child method, okay, in child class method, so in the parent class, it should throw what? Same checked exception or its parent. But here what? File not found exception is a parent of exception? No, right? Child for exception. So this is what? Invalid now.
Invalid.
Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now the next one, the case 5. Here see, in the child method, what exception I'm throwing? End of the file exception. Okay, and interrupt exception. Now see, end of the file exception. So end of the file exception is what kind of exception it is? Checked exception. If you throw the checked exception means in the parent class, it should throw the same checked exception or else its parent. Right? IO exception is what? Parent of end of the file exception. Fine. Okay. This is valid. But if you see the second exception, what is the second exception I'm throwing in child? Interrupt exception.
Interrupted exception.
Okay. But interrupted exception, here I am not throwing in the parent class, I am not throwing the same exception or else its parent. IO exception is not parent for interrupt exception.
Yes.
Understand? IO exception is parent for what? End of the file exception, not for interrupt exception. So that's what here what it is? Invalid. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Clear? Case 5. Everyone, clear, right?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah. Now, case
Yes,
6. If you see the case 6, here what I'm throwing? End of the file exception and null pointer exception. So now end of the file exception is what, guys? Checked exception.
Check the exception.
So in the super class, what I'm throwing? IO exception.
will.
Yes, IO exception is what? Super class for end of the file exception. Understand?
Yes.
So it is a valid. Here what? Null pointer exception. Null pointer exception belongs to what? Unchecked
Unchecked
exception.
exception.
Unchecked
For unchecked
exception.
exception, this rule is not applicable.
Yes.
Understand? So unchecked exception you can throw at parent also not problem and child also not problem. Okay? We are not taking care about unchecked exceptions. We have to take care about what? Checked exceptions only. Understand? This rule is applicable only for checked exception, not for unchecked exception. Clear? So no. No, here what? End of the file. This is what? True or valid or invalid?
Valid.
Valid. Clear? So now, see the second one. Now, last one. What is the last one, guys?
So,
No, what is the last one? Here.
valid.
Hmm?
Valid.
Public void show method throw arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, class cast exception. So what kind of exceptions these are?
Unchecked
Unchecked
exception.
Unchecked
Unchecked.
Unchecked.
So unchecked exceptions means what? We don't need to bother about. Understand? Hope you people understand. Clear?
Exactly.
Hello.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Come on, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
So now, okay. So now let me execute one example. Okay. Let me write. I will show you. Okay. Here language Java. Okay. So now here I'm writing what? One class, guys. Class. Class parent. Let me write parent directly. Okay. Class parent. So in the class parent, I'm taking what? Public void. Public void show method. Okay. So now this public void show method throws what? Okay. Throws what? Exception. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah. System dot out dot println of. This is what? Parent method. Fine. So now in the same way, I'm creating what, guys? Let me copy this class, guys. This is what now? Child. Okay. Child. Here what? Show method. Here I'm not throwing any exception. Fine. So here what? Child method. Okay.
Okay.
Hello. Clear?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now here I'm creating one class called test, or else test demo or something. Okay, class test. Fine. So now in the class test, what I'm doing? Public static
Main.
thing docs. Okay. So now here I'm creating object for whom. Okay. Here I'm creating parent page equal to new child. Fine. So now p dot what show method I'm calling. Fine. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Clear? So
Yes,
now
sir.
I'm saving this class, guys. Underscore Java. No, right? Where it is? C writing. C training. Polymorphism. Okay. So here, let me save exception demo. Okay. Exception, not exception. Exception overloading. Fine. exception overloading. Please remember, guys. Please remember this one. Okay, exception overloading. E capital, O capital, L capital, right? Exception overloading. I'm saving this
Yeah,
file name. After that, let me execute now. Where under C, right? C line polymorphism, right? Here, Java C
exception handling.
exception overloading, right?
Yes.
Tell me.
Yeah, overload. L.
Exception overloading dot Java, right? I'm compiling, guys. Right? Oh, I think we are not writing what extends. We have to put a relation, right?
Yes.
Extends parent. Fine. Yes. So now it is saying unreported exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Okay, here also we have to throw right one. This is exception handling mechanism. Here we are calling right main method. Here should throw. Throws exception. Okay, don't worry about this. This one don't worry. Okay, we will see while discussing exception handling. So here what is our point? This method throws, okay, parent and child. Now see here. So Java C exception overloading dot Java. See, compilation successful.
Yeah, successful.
Hello.
Yeah, successful.
Compilation done, right? So now here,
Yes, sir.
now let me execute Java. Which class, guys? Test, right?
Test
Where the
one.
main method is there, test class. So Java test. See what is the output here? Child method. Okay, child method only, right? We will get.
Yes.
Okay, parent p is equal new child.
Yes, sir.
P dot so means what is the output we will get? Child method only. Okay. Now see here. Now here I am removing throws exception. Okay. Here I am putting exception now. Understand? So in the child class, I'm throwing what? Checked exception. But in the parent class, I'm not throwing the same checked exception or its parent. So now what we will get definitely
Compile time error.
compile time error we will see. See now what is the compile time error it is saying? So method in child cannot override so in parent. Okay. Why overridden method does not throw exception? Clear? The compile time error.
Yeah, clear.
What it is saying? Hey boss, you cannot override so method in child class, which is there in parent class. Why overridden method does not throw exception? What it is saying? Because bhaiya, in overridden method, okay, does not throw exception. Means what? Overridden. This is the overridden method, guys. That's what already we discussed, right? This one we used to call is what? Overridden method. This one we used to call is a what? Overriding method. Understand? In parent class method, we used to call is what? Overridden method.
Overridden.
In child class method, what we used to call overriding method. So what it is saying, hey boss, in overridden method does not throw exception. Okay. In parent class method, it is not throwing any exception. Clear, everyone? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we will see one more example. Which example you want me to here? You want me to, I mean, do practice here. Let me do which one? We see the 8 scenarios, 7 scenarios, right? Which one you want me to?
K6, sir.
Case 6, huh? What is the case 6 here?
IO exception in parent.
Oh, case 6. IO exception, this one, huh? Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now here what throws? Okay, IO exception. Okay. Throws IO exception. So now here what? Throws end of the file.
End of file exception
Exception
and null
And-
pointer exception.
And null pointer.
null pointer exception. Null pointer. Okay. So now I think we need to import IO package. We'll see what it is saying. Okay, so let me import first. So these exceptions, where it is available under IO package. Import java.io.star. Already we completed, guys, import statements,
Yes.
right? So now packages and import statements we completed. See what is the exception message it is throwing?
Null pointer exception.
Cannot find symbol public void show throw EOF exception and null point. Okay, null pointer P capital, I think. Null point exception. Okay, so now see. Comparison successful.
Yeah. Like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now if you execute, what we will get? Child method. Okay, clear?
Yeah, clear.
See, so what does it mean? So here, this rule is applicable only for checked exception, not for unchecked exception, right? So here, in child class, which exception we are throwing? End of the file
End of
exception.
file.
Okay, in parent class, so it should be what? It should, in parent class method, you should throw the same exception or else it's parent, right? Highway exception is what? Parent for end of the file exception. So that's what this is what valid. So now coming to null pointer exception. Null pointer exception is what? Not a checked exception. It is an unchecked exception. So for unchecked exception, this rule is not applicable. Clear, right, everyone?
Yeah, clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now instead of null pointer exception, here I'm putting what? Interrupted. INTERRUPTED, I think, right? Interrupted exception. Yeah. So now see, I have written interrupt exception. Fine. So now let me save it. And I'm compiling. So Java, see. What is the error? Can you see the error? What it is saying? So method in child cannot override so method in parent. Okay. Public void show throws end of the file exception and interrupted exception. Overridden method does not throw interrupted exception. Overridden method means what? Parent class method, right? Override method means what? Child class method. Overridden method means what? Parent class method. Parent class method, we are not throwing interrupted exception. So that's what it is saying. Hey boss, we are throwing interrupt exception in where in child class, but in the parent class, you are not throwing the same level of exception. So that's what here we are throwing what? Compile time error. Clear, everyone?
If we
Yeah,
want to
clear.
correct that, what need to update in the parent class, sir?
The same exception or its parent.
Okay.
Okay. The same exception or its parent. So here, if you want, you can throw what? Same exception here, interrupt exception. So that's what our point, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you throw the same exception, you will not get what? That's compile time error again. You know, comparison successfully. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear.
Okay. So or else you can write what? Exception also. If you throw exception is what? Parent for all these two classes, right?
Yes.
End of the file exception also. For this class also exception is superclass. And interrupted exception also, for this exception also, exception class is superclass. See this, end of the file exception is checked exception. Interrupt exception also checked exception. So if you throw any checked exception in your child class, in parent, it should throw the same checked exception or else it's parent. It's parent type. Understand? Now this is valid or
Yes,
invalid?
sir.
Valid.
Valid.
Okay, see, I'm executing. Compilation successfully, right? Done, right?
Yeah, done.
Yes, sir.
Hope you people clear. Okay.
Yes,
Let me
sir.
copy this one. Let me place here. So I think we covered all the scenarios here. Okay, most of the cases. Okay, no, fine. Now, the example is right. So now, you tell me. So here also, okay. So why we need to, increase the, increase the exception type here. See here, what we are doing in the parent class. Okay, in the parent class, what we are doing now? If in the child class, if any checked exception is throwing in the parent class method, we have to throw the same checked exception, or else it's parent.
Yes.
Or else
Yes, sir.
it's parent. So why we are taking like this? Understand? Why we are taking like this? Understand what is my question here?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So in the subclass, in the child class method, if you are throwing any checked exception, in the parent class, what we are doing? Either if you take, you can take the same type, okay, same level
Okay.
exception, or else it's parent. Okay. So why can't we decrease the, why we need to take parent type there? Why we can't to take child type? Understand what is my question here?
Yeah.
Why we need to take
Yes,
parent
sir.
type instead child type? That is my question. Okay. So if you learn means you have to learn each and every area, guys. So why also you have to know. Then only subject will be improved. Okay. Even in interview also people will ask you like this only. If you tell the answer, again on top of that, they will ask one more question. Okay. So they will give you like this. If you say that, hey, sir, if in child class you are throwing one checked exception, but always in parent class you should throw the same checked exception or its parent. Like that you will say. So after that, immediately what they will say, why I need to throw parent class, okay, exception here instead child class. What happened if I put child? If you put child, you will get compiled error. Fine. And why? What is the reason behind this? Like that, people will ask you. Clear? What I'm asking here?
Exactly.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So now, tell me, you guys can tell. Easily you can tell. Okay. So now, let me explain you here. The same, guys. So now, let's suppose, okay, in the parent class, I'm having what? Show method, right? So now here, okay, here what I'm doing? End of the file exception I'm giving. Understand? End of the file exception I'm giving. So now here, I don't want to override this method. Fine. I don't want to override this method, guys, because what I'm satisfied with the parent class implementation. Okay. Clear, everyone? But I have child class, but as of now, I satisfied with what? Parent class implementation. Okay. So along with this child, we have child specific methods. Some more child specific methods we have in this child class. but I'm not overriding the parent class method here. Clear, everyone?
Yeah, clear.
I'm asking everyone. I'm not asking only for Vignesh or Vani here. What about remaining people?
Yes, sir.
No. So here what? I'm not overriding show method. Okay. So I'm satisfying with what? The parent class show method implementation. So that's what I'm not overriding. Fine. In child
Yeah.
class also by default it is available, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because this child and parent are what? In relationship by using extends keyword. Fine. So now here, now parent p is equal to new child and p dot show method. So which show method will call now? Parent class show method will call.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Parent class show
yes, sir.
method will call. So now, in how many places I'm calling? Let's suppose in 100 places I'm calling this show method. I mean 100 places means what? In 100 different classes, in the 100 different classes, they want to utilize my this parent and child class. Okay, this class functionality. So what they will do if they want to utilize my class functionality means they have to create object of our class, and by using this object reference they have to call methods, okay, which are present in our class, right? So now in 100 different classes they are creating object of our class like this parent p is equal to new child. By using parent class reference they are calling what? Show method. Okay. No. So now if you call show method means, so now which class show method will execute? In child class we don't have any show method, right? So now which
Yes,
class
sir.
show method will execute? Come on, parent class show
Parent
method will
class.
execute. Right. Now parent class show method they are calling. So now in parent class show method, which exception it is throwing? End of the file exception.
End of
it is
the
throwing.
file.
End of the
Right?
file.
End of the file exception it is throwing. Now here if it is throwing end of the file exception means, so definitely in Kali, right? So where we are calling in 100 classes we are calling, right? So the caller they should handle this exception, guys. I know you don't know anything about exception handling, but just remember, okay? So they have to handle this exception by using either try and catch, or else simply they can throw by using throws keyword. Yeah. So let's suppose here we are calling, right? In the test method we are calling, right? Parent p is equal new child and p dot show method we are calling, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now when you call this show method, what will happen? This show method will call, will execute. But this show method, what it is throwing? End of the file exception it is throwing. Clear? So now, your caller also, what I need to do, you should handle that exception by using what? Try and catch. If not, simply you have to throw by using throws keyword, right? End of the file exception. Like that, you have to throw, guys. You have to delegate this exception to other calling. Okay. Don't worry, we will see in detail. Okay, this is big topic. Okay, we will discuss while discussing exception handling. Fine, guys. So now here end of the file exception. Okay, like this, all other 100 classes. Okay, so all other 100 classes, they are also what? They has to handle this exception by using throws keyword. Let's assume. Clear? Fine? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
Fine, right? Now, after some time, so this is the application existing. So like this application is working fine. We deployed in prod environment. It is working as expected. Fine. It is running for many years. It is running. After some time, okay, after some time, somehow in the child class we have, right? I don't want, okay, I'm not at all satisfied with the parent class implementation. So if I'm not satisfied with parent class implementation, parent class method implementation, what I have to do?
On
I have to
implementation.
override that method.
Override.
We can create our own.
Void, public void show method. Okay, public void show method. And here I am providing my own implementation, right? System.out. Let me copy this, right? Right. So here what? System, not overriding. Let me override. Maybe it's gone. public void show method. Fine. So here I'm overriding this show method and I'm providing my own implementation. Something, guys. Okay. Okay. This business implementation is something. Okay. Here I'm putting what simply system.out.println child method.
Yeah.
Clear? Child method. Now here see, so in child method, what I'm doing, you know, I'm throwing, okay, exception. Understand what I'm throwing here? Exception class. Okay, see here. What I'm throwing here? Exception class I'm throwing. Clear? Now, so if I throw exception class, already where I'm calling under test class, I'm calling this method, p.show method. So earlier what I'm throwing now? End of the file exception. Because the parent class throws what? End of the file exception. This method only will execute, right? Okay.
Yes,
But
sir.
all of a sudden I implemented in child class also I implemented this show method. I'm providing overriding. I'm overriding the show method. And here all of a sudden what I'm throwing now? Exception class.
Okay.
So now if you override this method, if you call parent p is equal new child p.show method, which method will execute now?
Child.
Parent class show
Child.
method or child class show method?
Child.
Child class show method will call. Right? So for calling child class show method, so which method it is throwing now? Which exception it is throwing now? Checked
Checked
exception, that to exception class. Right? But here, as of now, what I'm handling now? By throwing end of the file exception. Okay?
Yes.
End of the file exception only I'm throwing. But here now, which exception it is throwing? Exception class exception it is throwing. But exception is what? Super class for end of the file exception. Right? So now it cannot handle, right?
Yes.
It cannot
Yes,
handle,
sir.
right? So definitely here it is affected or not? This class is affected or not? So like this, all the 100 classes are affecting or not?
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
All the 100 classes are affecting or not? So due to this one change, all our application will gone. Okay? Application will not work. If you do, it's kind of silly mistake. If you push this code into prod, what will happen? Understand? We will get a lot of errors, right? All other applications also they are affecting. All other classes also they are affecting. Here, class test is affecting or not?
Yeah.
It's affecting.
Understand? So now, so that's what will happen. All other 100 classes also affecting. Why? Here, if you are increasing, if you are declaring the parent type exception here. Okay, where in child class. So that's why. So while overriding in the child class, okay, if you throw any checked exception in the parent class, if you, okay, you have to throw the same type of checked exception or else its parent, okay, not its child. Clear? In the parent class, we have to throw what? If you want, you can throw the same kind of exception or else its parent, not for child. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Clear? What is the problem here? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what here what? Here we need to put what? End of the file
End of
exception.
file.
Here we have to put what? Exception. Right? So now if you see, let's suppose if you put exception here. So let's assume this method is not overriding. Okay? Let's assume this method is not overridden. So now which class we have? Parent class method. So now here what? Throws end of the file exception. Let's assume. Okay. So end of the file exception means what? It's a child class for exception, right?
Yes.
It will work or not work? It will work.
Yeah, work.
Understand or not? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why in the parent class, always you should throw either same exception or else its parent type. Okay. So this is the reason behind that. Okay. So why we need to throw same kind of exception in parent class or else its parent type. Okay. So why this is the rule they have made it means Java people. So the reason behind of this means this is the reason. I hope you people clear on this.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Clear, right?
Yes.